Hi everyone, I am Styleboy and today we are doing Am I the Asshole Autism Edition. Now, I didn't realize this was a thing until I was out, what was it, my friends Claudia and Ash, hey queens, and basically they were talking about, oh, we really enjoy reading Am I the Asshole? So I was like, ooh. And then I saw my queen, Mother
is mothering.
Ashley do like a reaction to it, but movie edition. And so at that point I was like, you know what, I have to do it autism edition. So sit in and prepare for a lot of ableism. Let's go, bitch. So I just went like a mini round and tried to catch some stories. So I got a couple of ones I haven't read. I think there's like two that I just want to reread. Am I the arsehole for hiding my autism from my mother? Just for context, I, 18-year-old female, am autistic with level 1 of support. I don't know what that means, and have a long distance relationship with my girlfriend, 22-year-old female, live with my parents and go to high school. English is not my first language, so forgive any mistakes. Let me change the camera angle. As time has passed and I've trusted in my girlfriend more, I started to tell her my thoughts and showed her the way I stimmed and struggled. So beginning of 2022, she suggested that I was on the autism spectrum. Turns out after a year of studying, doing tests for myself, we were right. The neuro analyzed in a case I was lying. Girl, you're not lying. This is called self-diagnosis, and self-diagnosis is completely valid. My mother, 54-year-old female, only discovered anything about autism when my coordinator called her to the school, which caused my evaluation, and only participated in the results of the test. And because if she hears anything she doesn't like or agreed, she tries to deny anything said and acts like I don't know myself enough to judge myself. Like you're 18. In my country we have, I'm guessing she means national exams, in which every student finishing high school must do to go to college. Due to my diagnosis and its approval, I asked for her to wait to sign me up for the exam, as it's something she demands me do even if I'm not finished in school yet. So I won't make a scene when it's really serious and can't be afraid right now because it's just a trial. She obligated me to tell the reason why I wanted to wait. So I said it, and she's hurt. Why? She says I never tell her anything and she always paints me as the bad guy. Oh god. I avoid telling her, but do it because she punished me really harshly for my stims. Like rocking my body, she held me because she didn't like it. My organization, she made a mess out of it and grounded me if I remade it, and even shake and squeezed me during shutdowns. In my shutdowns, I become non-verbal and my skin get very sensitive. Girl, are you okay? When I don't tell her something, she threatens to take in my phone. The only way I have communication with my girlfriend, who is my official support in my crisis. Oh god. Since the diagnosis, she called me mad, crazy freak, and although she says it as a joke since I was a kid and does the same with everyone in the family that has psychological issues, I felt her. Your mom doesn't sound great, hon. She says I'm crazy, even telling me that I ruined her night by saying I was hurt by what she was doing. What? That is the same woman who validated the possible ADHD in my abuser, nephew 17, and thinks my brother is autistic. Jail. Last Thursday, I went to a psychiatrist and told the jokes my mom was doing, and he said he would talk to her about it. In a conversation, she pushed me into saying what I told the doctor, and she said she felt betrayed. She said she wouldn't be treating me like a sick person because I thought some things would change to end some of my discomfort, and wish she tried to study about autism to show me she wouldn't just ignore it as she said she would. I also commented the things she showed progress in, but she just ignores this part. I feel bad, lost, and invalidated, but I do fear I did something bad, so am I the arsehole? Hun, no. This is what we call protection. Unfortunately, that's the way it is, and particularly if your mom was like just stopping you from being autistic, like she would hold you because you were stimming, although it does nothing with her, just because she doesn't like it, says these like things as a joke, and you've said I don't like it. I get the betrayed feeling, but I feel like it's hard, so I don't blame you for doing that. Luckily, you do have a psychiatrist, so you are able to like talk with them about these things, and obviously your mom's like apologetic and wants to improve, but still, oh my god, it sucks. You're absolutely not in the wrong. You're not the arsehole. It hurts, hon. It fucking hurts. And even just reading that makes me just feel in pain because I'm like, this is so normalized. This is normalized ableism right here because it's to do with family. And unfortunately, sometimes family members just don't know how to deal with this. And when you try and explain, they're like, nah. And it's so frustrating. Oh my God, so no, you babe, you're not in the wrong at all. I wish I could give you a hug. Yeah, you're not the arsehole at all. Am I the arsehole for hiding my daughter's autism from her? So pretty much most of her life, our daughter, 14-year-old female, has various issues. She had a speech delay, me, didn't make eye contact, was extremely hyperactive, had trouble making friends, fidgeted a lot, was extremely strict with rules, and a whole bunch of other things. My wife and I suspected that she may have been autistic, and we took her to a psychologist when she was 4. So the psychologist diagnosed her with hyperactive disorder, although we don't know if this coexists with her autism or if it's a misdiagnosis. It could coexist. A lot of people with autism also have ADHD. From 8 to 11, we gave our daughter as much early intervention as possible. We'd seen behavior and speech. She was able to speak but had to speak impediment therapist. I also went to a speech therapist. Wow, okay. Twins. I'd given her various books on how to make friends. At a point, she became a bookworm. We got her placed into a social school to help her build social skills. It wasn't until the end of 4th grade, which is about year 5 here, that she actually got diagnosed with autism. Her psychologist was excited to tell her, but my wife was against it. She wanted to wait until we felt our daughter was old enough to understand. We were aware of the stigma neurodivergent people experience and didn't want our daughter to go through that. I agreed to hide it until she reached adulthood. I have thoughts already, but let me finish because I'm about to pop off. When our daughter got into grade 6, which I think is year 7, she was bullied due to her autistic traits. She was gaslit, taken advantage of, and had many false friends who backstabbed her. Ugh. It made our daughter insecure about her poor social skills, and that's when she started to mask. It left her with such immense trauma that she has triggers and is in therapy. No. This is why you should always tell your kids earlier than later. I understand why parents would do this, but your child knows when they're different when they're very, very young. I'll explain into it once we finish. Today she came to us and asked, what is autism? We told her it's a different way of thinking. She was confused since she didn't know we meant it in a sense that autistic people have different brain chemistry to neurotypicals. After we elaborated, she told us the reason why she asked. She found out that she is autistic. She apparently found some of her old medical records lying around and read them out of curiosity. She was upset and asked us how could we hide this from her. We explained that we wanted to tell her when she was older since she didn't want to get hurt by other people. She angrily yelled saying that she'd get hurt anyway. Valid. And she said all this time she thought there was something wrong with her, but if it weren't for us, she wouldn't have taken the bullying to heart and she would have felt differently. Instead, we made her pain worse. Ooh. Now she's in her room crying and refusing to speak to either of us. We are starting to wonder if we should have told her about autism when we knew. Now there's an update, so we'll get into this. I get the thinking because just so many people, for some odd reason, they think autism is like a complex concept. And so they won't tell their child when they're younger. They'll leave it till later because they're like, oh, when they're older, when they're ready to, when they feel like they're old enough to understand. But the thing is, children understand when they feel differentiated or left out. Full stop. I never get why people don't realize this. Children understand it like that. They just witness things. Kids are not dumb and they realize stuff. And so the moment you don't tell them and they notice that they're different from other children, they're gonna figure it out. They're gonna realize. And especially because the thing is, which is always what weirds me out, is that your child is going to experience these things regardless. They're gonna experience pain, suffering, hurt, people taking advantage of them, whatever. I know I have. I've been through my share of it and it fucking sucks. And so for you just to be like, oh, we're not gonna tell her because it's going to save her that trauma despite her going through that trauma, particularly when she gets into like 11, 12 onwards, oh my God, kids are gonna be mean to fucking her. I think despite the well intentions, you guys are the assholes here. because you should have just let her know. And especially now that she has such immense trauma and she had to mask who she is, that's horrible, and that's trauma within itself, and to unmask is incredibly difficult. We do have an update though. Her mother and I were completely in the wrong. We love parents that take accountability. We shouldn't have hid an integral part of our daughter's identity. We thought we were protecting her, but we only made it worse. I didn't know that it wasn't right at the time, but now I do. We came from a country where mental stuff isn't talked about. If anything, the person gets stigmatized for it. So we did our best to support our daughter with what we knew. This isn't an excuse for our actions, but rather an explanation. A few hours after my original post, her mother and I had a long talk about this, reflecting on what we did wrong and what we should do moving forward. Good. I gave her a space for a day or two before knocking on the door. I wanted to ask her to talk to me about it. I apologized for what we did, telling her that we love her no matter what, and promised that we would be better parents moving forward. She says she understands we were just trying to do what we thought was best for her, but she felt hurt that we kept these things from her, especially given that what happened to her and finding out the medical records for all these things. It honestly sounds like an EastEnders episode.
Her name's Charlie.
After Uncle Charlie?
Oh no, after Charlie XCX.
Or like some messy ass shit. She said she isn't sure if she could trust us again for a while, which is completely valid. And I'm glad that she understood, but I'm also glad that she's like, nah. Our daughter is still very angry with us, although we understand why. At least on speaking time with us again. We're doing our very best to help our daughter through a journey of self-discovery at the moment. We got her another therapist to understand more about herself as well as accept the past bullying. Her mother and I are also doing research about how autism works and looking to get her an IEP at her school to gain her access to accommodations. Great! In addition to this, we took some of your advice, and her mother and I are seeking therapy to understand our autistic daughter as well as family therapy. Slay! Thank you for all the judgment. Thanks for those who gave tips on how to support our daughter moving forward. I feel ashamed that I didn't realize this sooner and that I harmed our daughter. She seems happier that she understands why she's the way she is. We fiercely love our girl and we are lucky to have her. Again, this is a mistake. And again, that's why I was also gonna say, hiding your diagnosis or hiding her or hiding a child's diagnosis just stops your child from basically being happy, because it's a part of them that they don't realize is there or that exists or that is valid. And so the moment that you open up and you're like, hey, this is your diagnosis, this is who you are, it feels like a relief. It feels like a weight lifted off your shoulders. It feels great. It's the same thing, honestly, as like queerness, which is why there's a lot of similarities. Where like, when I was younger, being queer, because I'm autistic and gay, I always kind of knew that I was different. Like always, since I was a kid, I always knew that I was different in year 3. And so when I got told I was autistic when I was 11, yeah, I cried, but then I was like, oh my god, like, I feel so free, I feel great. But I still felt different going into secondary school. I still felt like an outsider. And then I realized I was gay, and I was like, oh, I feel so free again. Like, to me, allowing your child to know about their diagnosis and allow them to know about who they are is incredibly important. I just think it's so essential. So I'm glad you guys are doing the work. You guys are willing to make sure that your child's happy and own up to your mistake. I think that's incredibly important, because I can tell there's gonna be some parents who are like, nah, I'm really glad about this, and I feel like this is a step in the right direction. I'd rather have someone make a mistake and learn from it and move forward like this versus stuff like that. Am I the arsehole for not telling my child that their sibling is autistic? Firstly, why? I am a mother of 2. Maintain conversations with anyone. He is frequently gets stuck in loops or in a certain issue and struggles to get out of it. Me. He struggles to get along with other kids his age and has started hanging around Connor and his friends more. Connor isn't autistic and was generally extroverted and outgoing. He can make friends easily if he tries and doesn't have any issues in school. Throughout most of his life, he was struggling to interact and to get along with his brother. We haven't told him that James is autistic, And as far as we know, he doesn't know. He is a nice kid and tries to be nice to his brother, but recently we've noticed it's taking a toll on him mentally. He is becoming removed from his friend when James is there more, as he is taking care of him or look after him.
Bombastic side eye.
James often speaks Spanish, slay. He's been learning it for a bit for New Year's. However, no one speaks Spanish around him. James does this not only to us, but also Connor's friends, and often refuses to speak in English, saying that Connor can translate, oh god, as Connor has been also taking Spanish, lower level. I feel like you have to tell James that like he can't be doing that, or you make James join a Spanish club so he can speak Spanish. Connor is becoming more reserved and is taking on the role of the older sibling / third parent when they are left together, having to look after James. That sucks. He's been lately getting annoyed with James and on many occasions has asked me to get James away from him for a little while, as he finds it gets in the way of his life. James often doesn't understand social cues and often laughs at about Connor's interests, even in moments of vulnerability. Connor has expressed on several occasions he does not feel comfortable pursuing his interests because he feels like James will make fun of him and not be supportive. Is this to James or to his mom? Because I feel like it should be to James. There have been several examples of this happening over the years, and I'm worried that James' autism is starting to have or has been having a detriment on Connor's life, and I don't know what to do. On the one hand, I think it's James' decision to tell Connor when he's ready, and James said that he doesn't want Connor knowing. Okay, that's fair. I agree with him in that part, and I don't know if it's his place or not to tell Connor. On the other hand, I feel like I'm only pretending to help Connor or be there for him when he is struggling with this, because there is no doubt that if Connor knew, we were able to have an open discussion about it. Connor would hugely benefit from that. Connor has mentioned things in the past of James lacking social skills, but he's always tried to end that conversation because James says he isn't ready. Okay, yeah, no, you're the arsehole. Firstly, I'm guessing if they meant freshman, I'm guessing they meant like 16, which is jam. Like what, 3rd grade to 16? That's a long time. What the heck? So James, I'm sorry. But also, you should tell James. I don't understand why, like, you haven't told James that, like, hey, it's not nice to do that where you belittle someone's interests. Granted, like, I understand they're autistic, and I understand not understanding social cues, but that's just rude, okay? And also, it shouldn't be Connor's responsibility to be third parent. Again, I feel like I get the why you wouldn't tell him, because if James doesn't want that, then it should be James's decision, I agree. But at the same time, Connor is the one having to become third parent, and that's not his responsibility at the end of the day. And I understand James's thing, just what I would do. Firstly, I would have told James way fucking earlier, and I would have told Connor earlier. For me, it wouldn't have been a question, I would have been telling immediately. But, because you said, first you have to tell James that it's wrong to make fun of his brother's interest, because that's rude. Just because it's an interest that isn't yours. And I would also explain to James why I think telling Connor would be a good idea, or to encourage James to tell Connor himself. I agree that it is definitely his place. I do not think that's a bad decision. I think that's very fair, particularly because he's older, so it's his decision if and when he wants to share it. However, I would definitely have that discussion with James just to talk about it without realizing, actually with realizing, because you already know this, you are putting Connor as the third parent in school, and that's unfair to Connor, and it's unfair to James also, because it's like Connor and James should have the opportunity to have their own friends. So again, suggest to James that you should tell him, suggest to Connor that you guys do stuff outside of each other. Like, you can still interact with each other, but still do stuff outside, because if Connor doesn't feel comfortable pursuing his own interest because James will make fun of him and not be supportive, that's unfair. So encourage Connor to pursue his own interests. Encourage him. I think talk to James and say that's unfair to make fun of your brother's interest and explain on why. Then talk to James also about, I think honestly, why telling him would be a good idea, and I think you should tell him, because yeah, it's also his place. I agree. Right, next one. Let's go into this one, which is, I think it should be later. Am I the arsehole for mentioning I have autism in an audition? I recently filmed an audition for the CBS show Survivor and was extremely proud of how I turned out. I showed a few people to get their feedback, one of them including my mom. She was annoyed at the fact that I mentioned I am on the autism spectrum in my tape, and that I wanted to inspire others to chase after their dreams too. Oh, wait, that's cute. Me too. Ah! I have Asperger's. That's a whole nother issue. So I spoke about it and how it affected my life and shaped me into the person I am today in a very engaging and positive manner. Slay, that's how you do it. She went on to try and tell me that I shouldn't be talking about how I'm on the spectrum because according to her, I'm very low scale. What the fuck? Is it Bake Off? But it genuinely affected me growing up. I am still on the spectrum nevertheless and figured it's a part of who I am and I should mention it. Not to mention she got pissed off with the majority of things I mentioned in the tape, such as crashing my car. What? Oh wait, Survivor! Shit, wait, no. I just realized what Survivor is.
So naturally, I chose my one and only true love, Jeff Probst. I mean, it's Jeff.
Wait, that would make sense. Wait, shit, ignore me. She is telling me to redo my entire audition, which took me 3 hours to complete. However, I feel everything in the tip is vital information to include. Am I the arsehole for this? Hell no. Why would you be the arsehole, girl? Firstly, it's your decision if and when to mention you're autistic. And for someone to be like, nah, is kind of weird. I feel like to just say because you're very low on the scale is incredibly invalidating and incredibly dumb also. Can I please just be honest? Oh my god. This is the problem that I have with like people invalidating autistic people who can function in society, who basically have lower support needs. It's dumb, it's stupid, because it's like at the end of the day, it's invalidating their experience, and this is so invalidating, oh my god. And it does affect you growing up. That's the thing, they don't talk about it. It does affect you growing up, honestly. Yes, I do understand it's a massive privilege because we get the decision of if and when we want to tell people that we're autistic, like those with lower support needs, which is kind of the same thing with James as well with the last thing. Like he has the decision if and when. I understand it's a massive privilege, but you shouldn't stop someone from telling you that you do have it. I hope you submitted it. I hope you did, because we love that and I think it would be really cool to have autistic people in more regular media. It's the same thing that's in Queer Epiphany, like having queer people in more regular media is the way to destigmatizement. We are now on the last one for today, and I wanted to do this one because I just need to discuss. Am I the arsehole for suggesting my partner and I shouldn't have kids because of his autism? My partner and I have been together for many years and he's usually wonderful. We love that. But his autism clearly causes him problems. He's very gullible. He has a few friends, which means he relies on me a lot for social interactions. You know, your normal on the spectrum behavior. Why do I feel like an attack? Ouch! We've been wanting a child for a while now and I'm just not sure I wanted our kid to go through what he did when he was growing up. He described a quite lonely childhood to me that I don't want a child to have. I know he beats himself up every time he says something insensitive and doesn't realize until I chide him. What the fuck is chide? Scold or rebuke. Ooh. I don't want that for the child that I raise. So I brought this up with him as sensitively as I could and mentioned that I don't think with his genetic predisposition involving autism that we should have a child with his genetic material. Because it would be hard on the kid and us. He got very upset, as he should, and accused me of considering him inferior to myself because I have a disdain for his differences. Oh god, what does disdain mean? A feeling of contentment for someone or something regarded as unworthy or inferior. Oh god. He cried for a bit and I said that I surely didn't want our child to suffer with social interaction like he does. He became angry and said that I don't want our kid to be like himself, that I think he is his bad. I said if he had a genetic disposition to Down syndrome, you wouldn't want the child to have that. Oh god. He yelled that if he had Down syndrome or schizophrenia or anything like that, all he had was some differences, not a disability. Slay. Yes, autistic partner. I mean, am I in the wrong? Am I the arsehole? I don't. Maybe I should have gone into more detail. We're choosing between my DNA and his. We're both guys here. The gays, we stand. We're choosing whose DNA is going into the surrogate. I'm sorry to say, I know Reddit people are like, you're not the asshole. Hi. You are, and let me explain to you why. Obviously, I understand the thing. This just straight up reminds me of the Love is Blind discussion between Bartiz and Nancy about abortion. However, yes, and I think Henny does a really good job at explaining it because she does this thing where she explains both sides, where in one half, I understand why the parent wouldn't want to do it. I understand why parents would be like, because obviously, like in this example, they don't want their child to suffer lower social interactions and they they understand that the pain that their partner goes through. So obviously they don't want their child to go through that same pain. I get it. However, firstly, a lot of this pain, a lot of the suffering that we face as autistic people, not all of it, but a lot of it comes from external factors, not internal. A lot of stuff from external then creates internal. Your partner beating himself up every time he says something insensitive until you tell him off. Of course he's gonna beat himself up for that. I do the exact same. Not that I say stuff that's insensitive, but I get so in my head about things that I say and things that I do and stuff like that. And I get really sad to the point where I feel like I have to people please. Also, just because he has like a lonely child, it doesn't mean it's a bad thing. Okay, the difference between this and the conversation with Bartiz is because also Bartiz was anti-abortion while Nancy was pro-abortion. And the reason why I say that is because when someone is anti-abortion, it just gives me the energy that if your child actually does come out with a disability, you can go, nah, don't care for it. Because people do that. However, this, I completely get where the partner's going from, the autistic partner, because I would feel the exact same. This is eugenics. It's peak. All they are differences. They're just differences. And this is what I always really like struggled with, because I also got told this to my face, where a teacher in school was like, I've been to an autistic primary school and I've seen how much pain and suffering they go through. So if I found out that my baby had autism or Down syndrome, I'd abort the child. And I just sat there as the autistic person like, what the fuck? I was speechless. And this is the exact same thing. What difference does it make? And especially because her reason is because the child will not be loved. What do you mean the child will not be loved? You should love your child regardless. It just shows that you're not ready to be a parent. This is gonna be mad because it's so sad. I think this is literally like a lot of internalized ableism, especially because some of the words he's using are quite harsh and mean. Yes, I did English language, okay, let me breathe. So like, for example, I literally had to look up the word disdain, which, what the fuck? That's horrid. And like, child him. Oh. And yeah, I do not blame the partner for being like, oh, it's almost like you saying, I don't want a child like me. And it's like, what's wrong with me? I get every single, like, how would you not come to that conclusion? How would you not? Also, your child could have a disability regardless. Your child could have schizophrenia, Down syndrome, autism, regardless of whose thing. Correct me if I'm wrong though. Are you gonna suddenly love your child less if your child does end up having, I don't know, anxiety? Are you gonna love your child less if they grow up having ADHD or a neurodivergence? Are you gonna love your child less in any single way? You shouldn't know. So why is this like, it annoys me because it's like, you wouldn't love your child less, or you shouldn't love your child less. So what's the difference? What is the actual difference? I don't get it. I will want to discuss with this person, what was the reason? What was the reason?
What was the reason?
Like, is there another reason that you feel like you're incapable of looking after someone with a disability? But it still gives ableism to me. It just hurts. This conversation would be my biggest fear with my partner. Like, if we ever were gonna have kids and we were ever gonna go into like surrogacy, and he's like, no, I don't want my child to have autism. That's literally what he's saying. I don't want my child to have autism because like, I don't want them to be like you. That's literally what it's saying. And I think that's also really confusing because I can't imagine having like a parent who's also on the spectrum. That would be a blessing because at the end of the day, like, you're not alone. You're not alone in that. Your family, like, you have someone in the family. So which means anything, not everything. Of course, it's like they have different triggers, they have different things. I completely get that. But like, the child's not gonna be alone. Your child's gonna be understood. That child is not gonna be isolated. Your child already has someone in the world who's behind their back. And for you to like say that I don't want that, like, I don't want like a child because of their autism, it's fucked up. And I hate how everybody are like, that don't be also. I hate it here. It just hurts. I'm gonna end it right here because I need a hug. That was the video. I'm sorry I ended this on such a sour note. If you did enjoy these and me just venting, comment down below if I should do some more. Maybe gay edition. That'll be fun. And I shall see you guys next week with the new video. Bye everyone.